Hey guys, what's up? This is LJS here, and I'm back with another deck profile after a long hiatus of deck profiles. Sorry guys, but I've been really busy, as I mentioned. My university work has piled up a lot. But yeah, so here I'm back with a deck profile, and I'm doing this deck because I promised my friend I'll deck profile his deck, and it's really late, but I guess better late than never. So for today's deck profile, I'll be doing it on the Great Nature's sort of new Legion, Magic Scientist Tester Fox. So this is the only Legion that Great Nature has, and it is not exactly new because it was released back in November, but I'm doing a deck profile now because it's really late. But anyways, for those of you who are Great Nature players, this deck is still relevant because it's gonna be quite a while before Great Nature has the support from the new GBTO2, which I think is gonna be in May for English. I'm not sure. So yeah, so this deck is still useful, but GBTO2's deck is gonna be really awesome. So anyways, let's get to the deck profile, shall we? So I'll go through the cards quickly, then I'll talk about the skill. So if you just want to see the deck profile, you can watch, and if you want to see the skill, continue watching after this as well. So first up, for the grade 3s, my friend runs 4 of this Legion, Magic Scientist Tester Fox. So he has a really nifty skill, I guess, that works really well with his mate to allow you to gain pluses. So he's a new boss. That's 4 of him. Because Legion, because now it's a Legion format. And yeah, so yeah. Next, he runs 4 of the Break Ride. So despite it being Legion format, Break Rides can still be useful depending on what clans. Also because Great Nature doesn't have a secondary Legion, so the other best option would be the Break Ride. And the Break Ride for Great Nature is actually really good because it allows you to gain quite a lot of pluses actually if you are able to pull the combo off correctly. And also Great Nature is a very combo reliant deck, so it requires you to have a lot of skill in planning what cards to use and what combos to you pull off. But yeah, anyways, for grade 2s, he runs 4 of the Illusion Scientist Researcher Fox, which is the mate of the Magic Scientist Tester Fox. As you can see, they are both teachers, teaching chemistry or something like that. But yeah, so you run 4 because he's a mate, so of course you run 4. He is like the Hamsuke clone, except he's 9k base and he only works for Legion. So I guess he's an upgraded version of Hamsuke, but with the restriction of requiring to be in Legion. But since this deck is sort of Legion based, he works. Next, he runs 4 of the staple card, currently staple, but GBTO2 will have a replacement for him. Binoculars Tiger. So he is your doper. So okay, for those of you who don't know, Great Nature works by what I call doping. So essentially they give drugs. Don't do drugs, kids. Don't do drugs. So you basically give drugs to other rear guards, giving them 4k, and then at the end of the turn they die. So in a sense they're dope and they die. So he is one of those guys that gives 4k to power and kill them. And Great Nature, you need things to die because if only when things die, things happen. So yeah. And next he runs 3 of Compass Lion. So Compass Lion is your 11k grade 2 base, so he's useful as a attacker as well as a 11k defense if you ride him, so he's quite decent as well. And next for grade 1s, he runs your staple 4 perfect guards. I mean, of course, run 4 perfect guards. This is extremely hard to find because it's from set 7, and that's the only perfect guard they have until you wait for the GBTO2. Yeah. Next, run 4 of the Silver Wolf Vanillas. This is a proxy because can't find enough grade 1 Vanillas. But he's there because 8k Vanillas make really good numbers with 9k base rear guards, which I'll explain later. Because if you see, 9 plus 8 is 17. But as I mentioned earlier, Great Nature's specialty is adding 4k. So 9 plus 8 is 17, plus 4 is 21. 21 is a magic number, so you run him because you want to form nice power columns. Next, he runs 4 of this Coiling Duck Bill. So Coiling Duck Bill is one way to mitigate your minuses. So as I mentioned earlier, your rear guards will die after they get doped. So use him to draw and at least get a wash so that you don't minus out completely, so that you don't lose card advantage. And next he runs 2 of this Soft Tank Sloth, which is your unflipper. So when he dies, you can unflip damage. But I guess this deck isn't really counterblast heavy, so you don't really need to run many of him. So that's why he only runs 2. But on the occasion you do somehow use up quite a lot of counterblast, he can unflip as well. Also, your main Vanguard also unflips somewhat as well. So for trigger lineup, he plays 4 crits, because crits is always good for pressure, for criticals. And this deck, I would say Great Nature is one of those decks where stand triggers work really well. So he runs 8 stands. There isn't really any need for a draw, because this deck, Great Natures have pretty decent draw power, and they filter through the deck really fast. So you definitely reach your key cards quickly, and there's no need for draw triggers. So mainly you just run stands, because when you give power to your rearguards, you want to make use of those power, and restanding them allows you to make use of those extra 4k, which is pretty good. And for the break right turn, there's a really nifty combo that can happen, which I'll explain later. And of course you run 4 heals, because why not? Why not? Heals are heals. Always run heals, because you don't want to die. Anyways, now let's, starter. For the starter, he runs Blackboard Parrot. Yeah. So anyway, let's get to the skill now. So for the Parrot, if I can focus, there we go. Okay, so for the Parrot, his skill is basically you have Forerunner. So basically, right him, he gets called to Rearguard Circle, and his skill is put this guy in the stall. Then you choose one of your rearguards, and that rearguard gets the skill of when it dies, you can draw a card. So basically, he is like a wash. So basically, you just put him in the soul, and then when something dies due to doping, you get to draw a card. And yeah, so it's pretty self-explanatory. It allows you to swap him out for another card in a deck. Allows you to sort of filter through your deck for things you need. And well, he doesn't run Grade 3 Searcher, because Grade 3 Searcher is a 4k base. He's a 5k base. So early game, he's still a decent booster, unlike having the Grade 3 Searcher, which is a hit or miss, and it takes up 1 counterblast, and it is yeah. So yeah. And if you combo him with Dark Bill, you get to draw 2 cards, and I'll explain Dark Bill's skill later on. So next we go to the Grade 3, the Magic Scientist. If I can focus, Magic Scientist Tester Fox. So yeah, his skill is during your end phase, when the rearguard is put in drop zone, and this guy is in Legion, you can then unflip a damage, and if the card that dies is either him or the mate, you can then draw a card, and then put 2 cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. 2 cards from the drop zone at the bottom of your deck in any order. So let's break his skill down a bit, okay? So the first part has to do with when something dies, you can unflip damage. So he is your sort of main unflipping engine. So when a unit dies, you can unflip 1 damage. The second part of skill is a bit more conditional. If him or the mate was the one that died, you can then draw a card, and you can place 2 cards at the bottom of your deck in any order. So this allows you to shove back triggers and useful cards from your drop zone back into the deck. And what you do is, normally when you do this skill, you should combo with the mate, because the mate skill is really good, and there's a combo you can do, which I'll explain later, which allows you to draw sort of cards for free. And his secondary skill is also pretty useful. When he attacks a Vanguard, you can give your one of your rearguards 4k. If you do, that unit will die at the end of the turn. So if you don't have other cards to initiate the plus 4k, he is a useful guy, because whenever he attacks, even if he's not in Legion, you can still give a rearguard 4k, and he dies at the end of turn. So yeah. Next is the Break Right. So the Break Right is a bit confusing in skill, I think, because it is quite a skill that requires you to think about the rulings a bit more. Yep, there we go, this is nicer. So basically, when a Great Nature Right is over him, your Vanguard gains 10k, and also your Vanguard gains the skill of when a rearguard attacks the Vanguard, you can give another of your rearguards 4k until end of turn. And if you do, draw a card and retire that unit. So basically, he turns any rearguard into a Binoculars Tiger. So basically, when you Break Right, any rearguard that attacks the Vanguard, you can choose to give another rearguard 4k. And if you do, you can draw a card and retire that unit. So as you notice, it stacks. So if you get a stand trigger, you have 3 attacks, and then you have 3 times you add 4k, and you draw 3 times. Someone did mention in my previous Great Nature deck profile that this thing doesn't stack, but the ruling says it stacks. So if you happen to drive check a stand trigger on the turn you break ride, you can draw 3 cards with the break ride skill, and that's essentially turning one of your stand triggers into a draw trigger and an additional attack, which is extremely good. That's why you run stands if you run the break ride. But I think I'll go into more detail later on. So next, the grade 2, we have the mate of your grade 3 guy. So basically he's a Hamsuke clone. So basically during an end phase, when this guy is placed in the drop zone, when he dies, if your Vanguard is in Legion, you can counterblast 1. If you do, choose one of your units on your Vanguard circle, search your deck for a card with the same name as that, reveal it to your opponent and put it in your hand. So basically when she dies, you can counterblast 1 and search your deck for him or her. But normally you use it to find her. So a combo you can do with these two is that, first of all, if this is in Legion, he attacks, give 4k to her. Then she dies. Now his skill activates first, inflict 1 damage. Then since it is her or him that died, draw a card, and then choose 2 cards, put it in the bottom of the deck. Put her back and a trigger, bottom of the deck. Then use her skill, counterblast 1, search your deck for her, put it in your hand, and then shuffle your deck. So in that sense, you get to draw 2 cards, 1 from his skill, 1 from her skill to get her back, and you get to put 1 trigger back in the deck from his skill. So yeah, that's a combo you usually do with those 2. Next is Binoculars Tiger. So Binoculars Tiger is one of those staples for Great Natures for now. Although GB202 will have a reprint for him. So basically when this unit attacks, you may give 4k to another rearguard. If you do, that rearguard dies at the end of the turn. So yeah, so he's basically a generic 4k killing enabler. Because as I mentioned earlier, when something Great Nature, things happen when things die. Next you have your Compass Lion. So he is a 11k base, grade 2, but it comes at a cost. At the beginning of the end phase, you must kill one of your rearguards. So he is useful as a 11k bit stick as well as to kill things, because as I mentioned, things die, things happen. So sometimes if you don't give 4k, it's useful to have him as a killing initiator so that things happen. So also another trick you can do is that if something is about to die anyways because you gave power, you declare his skill first, kill that unit off, and then you don't have to kill any other units anymore. So for example, let's say in this turn I have him and I have her, and I gave her 4k, so at the end of turn she's gonna die anyways. But first I'll use his skill to kill her. Blah. That way I don't have to use I don't have to declare another thing to kill for his skill to activate. So yeah, or have no rearguards at all, then there's nothing to kill. Next, Perfect Guards, Silver Wolf, vanilla, because whenever he's behind a 9k, if you give 4k, she's 13. Now at 8k, now that's 21k column. So vanilla is there to create nice 21k columns. And next is Dark Bill. So Dark Bill is also one of those sort of staple cards to run. If I can focus. There we go. So his skill is that when you call him to the rearguard circle, give another of your rearguards the skill that when it dies, draw a card. So it is similar to this skill, but if he requires you to put install, he happens when you call him. So basically, this is ways to mitigate your losses. So let's say this happens, something like this. Okay, this is your Vanguard, rearguard. So now you call him, give skill to her, swing, give 4k here. She's about to die anyways. Then you swing. Then when at the end of turn she dies, his skill activate, unflip damage, draw a card because it is same as him and the mate. His skill activates, draw a card. Her skill activates, put her back in your hand. So essentially you -1, but then you +3. So in this way you're able to +2. So as you can see, there's a lot of combos that need to be done. And when playing this deck, you really need to think of how you want to play your cards, such that you can maximize the draws and the power of this deck. So I say this deck isn't something easy to play, but the thing is, I don't play Great Nature, so I'm not 100% familiar with this. But my friend, he mains Great Nature, so he's really good at it. Anyways, lastly, the card he runs is these two great ones, Soft Tank Sloth. So basically, at the end of turn when he dies, you can Soul +1. If you do, unflip 2 damage. So sometimes, his skill, his secondary skill, his unflipping skill. What am I saying? Oh yeah. So sometimes, early game, if you don't have him, you are riding your back ride, and you kill things like her or other stuff, and you use Counterblast. His unflipping may not be enough. You may not have unflip damage. So I guess sometimes it's useful to have him to unflip damage. Although honestly, I think that this deck, personally, I think this deck doesn't cost much Counterblast, isn't as Counterblast heavy, so you can potentially swap him out for other cards. I'm not sure what, because I'm not really a Great Nature player. But yeah, so this is his deck profile, and let's get on to some of the combos. Okay, so here is a sort of a field setup that you might have. Let's just assume you have 4 damage for the back ride. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, oh yeah, also I forgot to mention that Soft Tank Sloth is 6k base. So giving him 4k makes him a 10k booster. So that's also a nice number. So having him behind Compass Lion makes you another 21k, which is also a really nice number. So as you notice, this deck is all about trying to hit nice numbers. And okay, so let's just say you, in this turn, you break ride. Doom. Then you perform Legion, like that. There you go. And let's say you have a field like this. Like that. Yeah, you duckbill skill to her, and you call him out. So due to the break ride, they give 4k as well. Your rear guards give 4k. So let's just say you swing with this first. That's like Vanguard. Use his skill, give 4k. Use the break ride skill, give 4k. Then you swing with Vanguard. Give 4k again. But drive check, you get nothing, and you get a stand trigger. Let's say you stand your Binoculars Tiger. Now he can swing again. Now the break ride skill activates again. So swing, 4k here from his skill, 4k here from break ride skill, and you get to draw an additional card later on. Now you swing with this. Now let's say we added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've added 6 4Ks to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We added 5 4Ks to her, and when attack she can give herself as well. So 6. So 6 times 4 is 24. 24 plus 8 is 24 plus 8 is 32. 32 plus 9 is 41. As you can see, this will be a 41k column, and 41k is also a magic number. So yeah, you can swing for big numbers. So break ride skill activates. Since you give 4k to all here, she dies. Then since the skill activates 3 times, draw 3 cards. So that's 1, 2, 3 cards you draw. Next, you resolve her maybe duckbill skill. Draw 1 card. Next, resolve her skill. Counterblast 1. So search your deck for her or the grade 3 him, which I recommend searching for her. That's another card. Next, you use his skill, unflip damage, and since it is him who, since it is her or him who died, draw 1 card and place 2 cards at the bottom of the deck. I recommend putting a trigger and her back at the bottom of the deck. So now in this whole turn, you've drawn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 cards. You drew 6 cards in this turn. But let's assume that let's say you used your starter skill, and you use another calling duckbill skill. Now that's additional 2 more cards you can draw. So that's 8 cards you have just drawn. So yeah, so that is one of those main combos you can do with Great Nature. With the break ride, with stand trigger, with the power giving, with duckbill, with the Great Nature boss. So yeah, do take note that you need to resolve skills in the right order. This is one of those clans that really has a lot of skills that activate when things die. So do take note of the skill resolution methods. Read up on the rule books of how to resolve skills, because it is really important that you know how to resolve skills in the right order. So this has been my friend's Great Nature deck profile, Legion. I hope you like it. If you do, thumbs up. If you like my content, do subscribe. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I've recently hit about 900 subscribers. Thank you so much, yay! And yeah, so I hope you enjoyed this deck profile. And this has been LJS, and I'll see you guys next time.